Steve, te quería preguntar si recordás la primera epifanía con la guitarra, tocando y decir, aquí hay algo más para hacer. It's a new world, un nuevo mundo en la guitarra.
Well, that still happens.
Yeah?
Yeah, because every day that you play and you're interested, you discover new things. But I think my first epiphany came just for music. I was 4 years old and I hit a piano. And I was like, oh, I see. And then when I was 6 or 7, I saw a kid who was 9 playing the guitar. And that was big. That was big. I was like, okay, I want
that.
And our little Italian virtuoso, Steve Vai on guitar. All right, you ready?
¿Qué te acompaña hasta el día de hoy de tu época de Frank Zappa, de estar tocando con Frank, y que se mantiene al Steve del día de hoy?
Every day I remember things about what I learned with Frank. Because he was very independent. He did what he wanted to do. He did what was interesting to him. He didn't expect anybody to do it for him. And he didn't make any excuses, you know?
Yeah.
So I learned very young, because I was 18 when I started working with Frank, and then 20 when I started touring with him, and I watched him very carefully. And besides learning about the business, how to work with other people, how to go into equipment and music very deeply, I just remember Frank just did what he wanted. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do what I want, you know, so that was big.
Steve, me gustaría que me contaras, porque me gusta mucho la anécdota de tu primer show con Frank Zappa, y tú le preguntaste sobre cómo estuvo. Era tu primer show, él te dijo algo.
Yeah, it was after the first show.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how I was concerned, you know?
Yeah.
And it was the next morning and we were having breakfast. And I said, how was I? And Frank said, I think you're a very good guitar player, but your tone sounds like an electric ham sandwich. And I said, well, why? Because I got the guitar, I got the amp, and Frank said, because he used very little words, you know, and he said, the tone is in your head.
What does it mean?
What it means is it took me time to understand what it meant. But what it means basically is the way you sound is based on how you hear yourself in your head. So if you're not creating in your mind a better tone, you won't get there. So I started to listen very carefully to the way I was playing. And it was really in the playing. And I could play fast, I could play very complicated things, but it didn't have like the touch, you know? I was so young. And I immediately started to focus on that, and I started moving and changing, and everything changed. Wow. Thanks to Frank.
Acá, ¿hay lugar para el cerebro cuando se toca en vivo o es solo emoción y espiritualidad?
Well, it's changed through the years, you know, what I focus on. And the best thing to focus on for me is nothing. You just have to become open, you know? Thoughts can be distracting, you know, if you're thinking about unnecessary thoughts.
Okay.
You know, like, what do they think of me? Or, boy, this doesn't sound very good. Or, I'm not doing well. Or, boy, I'm great. You know, all these are mental distractions. So
it's really difficult, no?
yeah, it's a meditation. It's a practice, and the practice is to you connect yourself. So there's no thought. There's only presence. You know, you become present, and everything flows through you beautifully. And if I think of anything, it's relax the body, relax the mind, and then there's a connection that's very intimate that I feel. And I always think I'm a performer.
Yeah.
I'm performing a service for people. I'm an entertainer for people. And it's my job to engage them, to lift them up, to give them something just that's different than anything in their life, you know, just for a couple of hours, you know, and share the melodies, you know. So I play the melodies and I push them into the people, you know. I make an effort. It's a connection, you know. And that has been deepening through the years. And I can feel it in the audiences.
You have a ritual before and after of a show?
Well, I have a very conventional kind of ritual. You know, I warm up. We have a whole day. You know, I do a little press. Yeah. Then I meet the fans for the Evo package. And then I do sound check.
Yeah.
And then I warm up. I get dressed. My ritual is when I'm preparing for a show, I become very present. Okay. Meaning, if I'm putting my pants on, I'm giving my full attention. I feel it, I see it, I put my boots, whatever it is, and it's very enjoyable. You know, it's just simple and it's enjoyable. And then we get together as a band and we do a huddle and we support each other. And then before I go on stage, I completely center myself. You know, I just relax and I imagine my notes going into the heart of every person out there. I see it. I create a picture. And then there's this beautiful zone, mental, psychological zone of, it's almost like floating, you know? It's like, sometimes I feel like my feet are like this high off the ground, you know? And it's beautiful, beautiful. It's just so, it's delicious.
¿Se puede elevar aún con Hydra, tocando Hydra, que debe ser bastante pesada?
It took 2 tours. The first tour we did, I didn't have the Hydra because my shoulder couldn't do it. I had shoulder surgery. But then we did the American tour, and I brought the Hydra out, and you know, it's like you know, and then it got, you know, it flowed, and then eventually on the last tour, I was floating. I started to float. And on this tour, I'm ready. Yeah, it's good. I've always been interested in multi-neck guitars, ever since I saw Jimmy Page, you know, with the double neck.
Yeah, okay.
And through my whole career, I've worked on various kinds of multi-neck guitars. I had the big heart guitar, but it never seemed to be enough, you know. I wanted more because that's built into us, right?
More is better.
The universe designed us to always want more. And one day, just the inspiration came, you know. It was just like a download, and it was all there. And if I was to verbalize the instant of inspiration, I would say, I told myself, you're going to design a guitar that can carry an entire song. So you need a bass neck, 7-string, 12-string, harp strings, all this stuff. And you have to write a good song that's enjoyable, and it has to have a great melody, you know. And I saw myself navigating the entire instrument in my mind. I didn't know what the song was. I didn't know what the guitar was going to look like, but I knew it was like a challenge, you know, like a, psychological challenge, like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
So I saw myself doing it, and I knew I could do it, you know, because when you receive a download, it comes with the knowing you can do it.
Okay.
You know, you just have to give the time. So it took 7 years.
7 years.
From the time I had that inspiration to the time that the Hydra showed up at my house. There was a lot of, you know, back and forth with Ibanez and changing the look and changing the necks and moving things. And finally, it arrived, and I just couldn't believe it. It was the wildest, weirdest looking guitar I had ever seen. And then I thought, oh my God, I got to write a piece of music with this, you know? And I put it on the stand, and for a year and a half, it sat on the stand. And because I was too afraid to touch it, you know? And then when I was working on Inviolate, I carved out 6 weeks of 15-hour undisturbed days. Wow. And I sat behind it, and I just went very slowly, and I built the song, and I recorded it. And then I started to, then the record came out, and I would do interviews, and people say, oh, you played this song, Teeth of the Hydra, on the Hydra. And I said, yeah, that's it, all on the Hydra. And they say, oh, and I say, no, it's everything you hear is being played at the same time. And they go, oh, cool. And I said, no, wait a minute. And I show them a video of, like, in the studio, and they're like, oh. So I knew I had to make a video. You know, and the video was difficult because I wanted to stand up. So we had a special belt made that held the Hydra, but it's very heavy. And you can't move it like a guitar. You know, guitars go like this. If you go like this, you're going down, you know? So I spent weeks developing the stamina to play it perfectly standing up. And then I shot the video. And because I knew the real entertainment value was going to be in the video. And I watch the video, and I look at it sometimes, and I think, who is that? How did that, how is that, you know, how is that possible? And then I go, oh, I remember. I started very slow. Boom, 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 boom.
Steve, has sido siempre muy generoso en dar clases, en mostrar tus conocimientos. Me gustaría saber de dónde viene esa pasión por la docencia, por enseñar.
Well, I always liked learning. I always had teachers, you know. My first teacher was Joe Satriani, you know. And I enjoyed teaching what I knew, because there's always people that pull you up, and you're always pulling somebody up. You know, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. You're being helped, and you're helping. So I always felt I was a good teacher, You know, I could explain things in ways that I think guitar players and young musicians can understand. So I've also been touring for 43 years now, and I've learned a lot. I've been an independent musician. I've always run my career myself. I've always been in control of my own music. And I've toured and I've learned so much, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And I feel it's not like it's a responsibility, but it's a joy to be able to share that with people who have questions for themselves. You know, how do I navigate the music business? You know, what's important here? You know, so I enjoy doing that.
Hace nada salió tu disco By Gash, que fue grabado hace como 30 años. Cuando volvés a esas cintas a escucharlo, ¿qué le pasa al Steve de ahora?
Oh, I'm so happy that I had recorded that record and that I released it now. It was, if you look at my catalog of music, it's very diverse. I mean, my first solo record, Flexible, compared to Passion and Warfare, compared to Alien Love Secrets, it's just three-piece, compared to Sound Theories, which is orchestra. I like diversity.
Yeah.
And I have rock and roll in my blood, you know. I have very high information music, compositional music, but I'm also a teenager of the 70s, you know. And I wanted to make that record. I always wanted to make it. And I did, and it was 31 years ago. And I recorded it in a few weeks, maybe, the most. And I wanted it to be really straight ahead. Just good songs. Rock like I loved in the 70s and 80s. No big long guitar solos to show everybody how great I am. I wanted good melody. I wanted people to feel, when they listen to it, empowered. I wanted them to feel good, uplifted, you know, like the way we felt when we were riding our motorcycles, you know. And my friend Johnny Gash Sombrado, I couldn't believe that he could sing the way he sang.
You tried to sing first, no?
Sorry? I tried to sing first because I didn't know he could sing. He didn't know he could sing. And it was, you know, when I sing, it was terrible. You know, 'cause I like my voice when I sing, but it's not a rock and roll voice, you know? It's not hard rock. And Johnny, holy mackerel, I couldn't believe it when he started singing. And we used to listen to it and we were riding, and it was fantastic. But I was in the middle of recording Sex and Religion also. So I had to finish that, do that tour, and then I was going to finish the Gash record because I only had 8 songs. One of the songs I wrote with Nikki Sixx, New Generation, yeah. But unfortunately, Gash was killed in a motorcycle accident, and I was so distraught. I just took the whole record and I put it on the shelf, and I just moved on.
It's not the moment.
Yeah, it's not right. So I'd listened to it through the years, and it always made me feel great, you know? And I just thought, one day I gotta release this. One day I gotta release this. And last year I said, I'm releasing it, that's it. And there it is. Thank you. I'm so surprised at the success of that record. I know, it's like it's on the radio in America, and the fans like it, and the press like it, you know, because it's very simple.
Is not leaving us at the moment. He's staying right here, okay? But to lead us in a piece of music which has never ever been done on a stage live before. Please welcome the genius, the master of the space age guitar, Mr. Steve Vai!
¿Has tenido momentos aprendiendo, tomando clases de frustración? Seguramente que sí, pero ¿cómo lo has logrado superar?
Well, the only real deep frustration I've felt is when I've gone after things that I instinctually didn't feel were really right. Okay. I would want something for another reason than the joy of my own creating. Maybe it was money, maybe it was something, you know? And they never worked, you know, none of them ever worked. And they were frustrating, but there was something about that frustration that was good because my inner being didn't want them, you know? But when you are creative, and everybody is creative, everybody they're being creative. They have a unique creativity. And you know it because you get inspired for an idea. So we were talking about the Hydra, right? So that was an inspiration that was built for me because it had my interests, it had my ability. So that's very fulfilling. Now, when you go to do it, there can be frustration, and there's never been a thought of quitting. There's only the thought of, darn, I don't have it yet. Do it again. But that's a tiny frustration. It doesn't matter. I go right past it. It's a little frustration. It's like this, you know, because you see the big picture, and that is so. It has a pull. It says, "Come to me." You know what it needs to be, and you work, and it's like, oh, okay, and then it's like, yeah, okay, got that, okay, and then it's like, so that's the frustration. It's not real frustration, you know.
Es el Steve de los 30 años atrás, se siente igual que el Steve de ahora, estando de gira.
This Steve has a lot of gray hair. Gray hair. When you find something you love to do, whatever it is, it could be cooking, it could be interviewing, it could be running the camera, whatever it is, if you really find satisfaction and you stick with it, you must expand, you must innovate yourself, you know? So the biggest difference between me now and then, well, also, you know, with age, you chill out more. Okay. You know, you are less intense, you know, and more comfortable in your skin. I'm much more comfortable in my skin. I don't mind criticism. I don't mind little problems. Things always, you know, there's always challenges. And it's like, okay, you know, so what? You know, so you either, what's the worst that can happen? You don't do the show. That's happened, you know. But you learn to not take things so seriously. And then everything flows so much better, so much easier. The Steve of today knows the preciousness of every moment much more than the Steve 30 years ago.
I have a present for you, right. Sir. This is from a Uruguayan musician, un músico uruguayo, Rada, que para mí, en forma personal, es de lo más representativo, si no lo más representativo de la música uruguaya. Es una música fusión, es un disco para que él se lo lleve y que lo escuche cuando quiera.
Oh,
Si
how
quieres estar aquí.
nice.
You'll be here today.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's used, o sea, es de mi colección, lo tenía
From
acá.
his personal collection, so that's why it's
Really?
all used. It's not a brand new record.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.